The title race is on, and you lot can't tell me any different if you're a Chelsea fan. That was a good win. And you know what? It didn't start pretty, but I've kind of noticed that with Chelsea lately. You know, Burnley 2-0, Turf Moor, back from a break, no Caicedo pretty much. No, not your, I wouldn't call it Chelsea's strongest team, but you shouldn't need your strongest team to beat Burnley. But second half compared to first half where Burnley were piling on pressure, you know what? I've got a few things to say, but before we get into that, do smash the likes. Likes are super important. You know what it does for any video, for any content creator. Subscribe if you're brand new. I do a lot of these. I'm not going to sit here and say that was the most exciting game in the world. But if you're a Chelsea fan, you don't care. You got your 3 points. That's all that matters, right? And the way I kind of view it is, Chelsea are currently, if I'm correct, I'm going to double check just to make sure it's updated correctly. You're sitting in second place by a point. You've got Arsenal next week. Is it next week? There's a lot to gamble and play for. You know, Arsenal might not even win on the weekend tomorrow. And why I say the title race is on is because of the position you are in, considering, especially anyways, the adversity that Chelsea have gone through. A lot of Chelsea fans want to stay grounded and say, no, we're not there, this, that, and the other, yada, yada, yada. But it's okay to say if you're in a title race, mathematically, you're in there. You know, with the team that you do possess, the manager that you do have, with all the teams that are around you right now, you can't say that you're not. And it doesn't really add any pressure, but you got to remember, you've got quite a few players to come back yet, you know. But I'm going to say one thing, right? And this doesn't go for the goal scorers. Let's go into the game. Burnley started strong. There was a few very good blocks from Chalobah and Reece James in the first half. You know, even I was really surprised by what they were doing. The focus levels were very high, and I would say there was not a bit of nerves, but you have to expect these with these lower sides this year. They come out very strong. But them two at the back, once again, I know it's weird, but you're going to call them the Chuckle Brothers, but Tosin and Chalobah today were mint. They were very, very good for what I believe anyways. And to be honest, actually, the whole team was good, bar maybe Delap. I think Delap and João Pedro weren't up to the standard that to what maybe some may expect, but they got to develop a partnership, in fairness, at some point, right? But it was still effective. The wide men were the most dangerous. You know what? Gittins putting that cross for Neto was, yeah, pinpoint. And you know what? I have a lot to say about Chelsea wingers. But it's true what a couple content creators have said to me. But what wings are really good in the league? Who are really outstanding? There might be a couple individuals. But as a collective, I don't think there's many good pairings out there. You know, Neto getting on the score sheet, you know, diving header. Who thought that maybe the smallest man on the pitch was going to get a diving header? But Gittins put that on an absolute plate. And I felt sorry for him in the first half as well, because Delap didn't put him in after he made an absolute run. I think he made up 30 yards to get to the edge of the box, and he didn't get seen because Delap wanted to be greedy. But this is one of Delap's first few games. I think he should have come off even sooner. How about that, right? We know Reece James came off, you know, Gusto come on, and it's weird, this rejuvenation of Gusto, his positioning. I don't know, he's turned into this utility player that Maresca really likes, and you know what, he's getting game time. You know, there was always questions around how Gusto and James going to play together. James come out for half time, and I don't know if that's because he played a lot of minutes for England, which he did, but that it seemed that was the case. You don't want to risk him, especially when you got Barcelona midweek, which is going to be a very good game. But there was one man in particular today I must give his flowers to. He came in for Caicedo. Can you not guess his name at all? Right? It wasn't, obviously, it's not Enzo Fernandez for anyone saying. Good goal again. I want to talk about that goal because the sequence before that goal was mental. But Andre Santos really ran the show today. What a man of the match performance that was. You know, if you're going to say, like, I'm here to fight for a position, I can hold it down, especially being one of the more defensive players that can also go forward. A bit like what Caicedo does, being the understudy that he is at the moment. He had an absolute phenomenal game. I think he's going to go so under the radar with a lot of content creators potentially. I'll be interested to see their reviews and see what they say. But I thought he was phenomenal, man. that was I would say I can't recollect any previous games in my mind, but I think that might be his best game in a Chelsea shirt, unless you lot got other games to put towards me. And what he was doing, putting in a shift, his passing, he was the glue for that midfield. He was the reason why the wingers could really get as high as they could. I think every time they had an attack going down the middle, Andre Santos would either close a passing lane, right, or he would thread it through to Neto, who was making a lot of bursting runs. I thought he was absolutely sensational, and I thought he definitely needs to be given flowers for just that. And even Mark Ju, when he come on, the difference in hold-up play, as soon as he did come on, again, it goes under the radar. It's just, I think it's all about developing consistency. But if this is, see, the maddest conversation with all of this, with this whole Chelsea conundrum is around consistencies. And of course, you got a lot of players out. Cole Palmer's back, so that is a huge benefit, a positive. You can understand why the other players who've gone far in international duty didn't play, like Esteval's and Caicedo's, and who else stayed on the bench as well. Let me just give you a couple names. Garnacho stayed on the bench. Obviously Hato didn't get on, Ajampong didn't get on. So that's a few. That's to name the few that were obviously from far overseas, right? Is if this Chelsea team is displaying quality, I'm going to call it quality today, because quality was definitely on show, right? What happens to this Chelsea side when they do develop a consistency within their own performance individually, players that do come back from injury? The bigger question, how good can this Chelsea side really get? That's the overriding question. I feel Chelsea fans who are listening to this, you've got to answer and ask yourselves, how good can this side really get? Because I look at you lot's fixture list and I think it's not the worst case scenario ever in the world. And I look at all the other teams around in the league. Even the thing is, you don't have to be. Other teams are not consistent, so you don't have to be mad consistent to be in this top 4 race, let alone a title race, right? Because there's many others that are just not up to scratch at the moment. And the way I view Chelsea, the way they play football, which I think is up there as one of the best in the league, the way they move the ball, even right now, it's going under the radar how you're defending, which again, you need to develop some consistencies with your back line, but there's a lot of injuries. Badiashile as well. He came on, if I'm correct. He's the one that came on half time, did he not? For Reece James. Look, the way I'm kind of viewing it is when it does get there, because it will get there, what kind of game stretch do we find this Chelsea team to go on? And that is what I'm kind of asking myself, because as much as I don't like Garnacho, I thought Gittins first half not great, but then everything just clicked. Him and Neto were just running ragged. It's just little bits and bobs when different players add different elements to the game to affect it the way they need. Because I thought if Garnacho played today, I don't like the guy, don't get me wrong, don't think he's that great, but I reckon he scores today. If Cole Palmer was there today, I think he scores today. If Fofana was there, you shut out a lot of more chances today. It's just that if Caicedo was on, the whole game was probably ended by in the first half, and there wouldn't be no mad counterattacks or anything from Burnley, from Jadon Anthony, and the other winger, I don't even know who he is. Let me get his name up. Chuana. He scored a banger, to be fair, that Chuana. Whatever his name is, the right winger. Them lot was swapping wings. There were no answers for this Chelsea team today, and you wouldn't call it the strongest, but it was enough. So that's pretty much it. I thought Enzo Fernandez, once again, he's the only player that you have to give his accolades to. I don't think he's the most special player ever. Everyone knows what I think around this man, but he is a very good player and his energy levels are underrated. He's the only one, him and João Pedro, but João Pedro don't get the games. Enzo Fernandez is one of those players that can come back from international duty and you don't need to worry about his energy levels, because that man is a leader. He will put his body on the line and he will keep playing. And when he's needed and required, he will play the whole stretch. And I think that's such an underrated thing. It kind of reminds me of Bruno Fernandes, right? Because he's always available, Enzo Fernandez. He's always getting onto the end of these so-called goals, whether they're late or early. And even at the start of games where he's trying to get things ticking, it does take him a while sometimes to get into a game. But once he does establish his presence. And I think today with Collins and whatnot, trying to Cullen, Ogachukwu, I don't know why he was playing more advanced, weird one. These are chasing shadows in the end. And for me, that's really underrated. And it does kind of, for me anyways, it does kind of go under. I don't care if it's Burnley, I don't care if it's Liverpool. Enzo Fernandez is having quite a consistent season. The Chelsea midfield is what's keeping everything glued together. And you know what? For a team that's not rated with their wingers, I believe you've got the most GA as a collective of wingers in the whole league, which is, again, will go over people's heads. But as it stands, you lot know that there can be a gear or two or three that Chelsea are still up to, still yet to reach. And that's just my opinion. It's not exactly fact. But I think Maresca's playing a blinder. And today, he absolutely outcoached Scott Parker. You know, he found the weaknesses, especially with that left back. What's his name? Hartman. He's the Dutch guy. He got absolutely shredded. Neto just kept running at him. Them sort of fullbacks, right, when they're not athletically able, like in terms of like a Nico Riley, and like Neto just tears him a new one because he'll go at you again and again and again. And even Carl Walker, I thought he had a decent game against Gittins. You know, the back post as well when he cleared it. I thought they were okay. Burnley was not crap. On another day, I think Burnley actually beat a lot of these other teams in the league. But Chelsea's quality just shined through, and you can definitely see it. And you can definitely see there's a whole confidence in the squad that you lot can't deny. I can't deny. So, look, man, look, you got your 3 points. You're sitting in second. Newcastle have got Man City. Who knows what happens there? You might still sit in second by the end of today. And then, you know what? Bob's your uncle, because football's just very weird. It's never really black and white, is it? You can't really call what's going to win and what's not going to lose because it's always upsets. So Chelsea, you're doing your thing. You're doing your thing. Man of the match today, for me, Andre Santos by far. Big credit to Mark Zhu, because see that goal at the end? Go look at how many passes. Go look at the type of pass. Look at that goal from back to front. And that is what you call a proper team goal. And that is absolutely underrated. Mark Zhu's, even for his assist, what he had to do, Neto's pass to him, all of that was creme de la creme. That was insane. That's the sort of stuff I want to watch football for. It's stuff like that that make me get excited and think like, oh, this gets me up to gear. Do you know what I mean? It's proper football. And it needs to be more like that in the game for me. I think it's been missing for a while. For a long while. So maybe Chelsea might be the birth of that, coming to when they get new players, other players coming back from injury. It could be a thing. It has been a thing. So credit, man. You're sitting in second. Be happy. Don't moan. On to the next one. And actually, you know what? As you're liking this video, tell me what could be better. That's actually a really relevant question. In a bit.